I've got to turn the metronome off. First thing. This is my first podcast. It's called Manic Depressive Before It Was Cool. And that name, I thought of a lot of names before I came up with that one. You know, it's kind of like coming up with band names. I had My Life in the Transcendental Hayride Cult. I used to roller skate with Axel. And all these different, Keep on the Grass, you know, that was an old sign we had at the house in LA. I lived there. Another story. But plus, I'm sure that one's taken. But I settled on Manic Depressive Before It Was Cool because that's kind of what this podcast is going to be about, at least in part. That feeling that you did something first and then someone else succeeds, whether or not you know them or not. It's a really common, I'm sure, experience. We've all had it. And, you know, I've been listening to podcasts for a while now, and I'm sure like you, we've had the thought of like, I could talk about myself. I'm neurotic. That I could do this. And, you know, like my wife always says, it's not about you, but it is about me. It is about each person and their perspective. I mean, you have to relate things back to you. At least I do. And also, I realize I've been being interviewed on a podcast or a TV show in my mind my whole life. My inner thoughts. It doesn't matter. I'm in the grocery. I'm in the fucking at work, wherever I might be. In my mind, there's this rolling guy with like a microphone, and I've just landed here in England with my band, or, you know, just that kind of thing. And I think it predates even my first band, which we started when I was like 15 or 16. And, you know, so therefore, I know the questions to ask. I know the how to dig really deep, because I've dug really deep into myself. The interviews, writing songs, LSD, manic times that, you know, I can't even say were brought on by drugs, but I've been down there in the hole, my mind. We're going to cover topics, you know, what the main topics is. Are you bipolar because you took acid? Or are you this and that because you took that or this? You know, what came first? It's, you know, something I wrestled with for years. And, you know, I think I've concluded that I liked acid so much because it brought me to that state of mania, which I'd never done acid. The first time I did acid, I was 17, almost 18. But certainly before that time, I remember other periods where I just was fucking tripping balls, you know. So I think I had some sort of receptor towards that sort of consciousness. But, you know, I don't know. Maybe I didn't need to do that much acid, that's for sure. But where does it start? We'll go into that. We'll look at it. And, you know, while drugs could be definitive for anyone, I also am I'm interested in things like, what were your dreams? How did you fail to achieve them? And are you cool with it now? That doesn't mean I don't want to talk to successful people, because in that case, it would be, what dreams did you have? Did you find some sort of good place when you achieved your dreams? You know, mostly I'm interested in people that did not succeed in their chosen field of like mostly artistic endeavors. You know, for me, obviously, I'm a musician. Specifically, I write songs. You don't know them, but still I toil away in my garage writing them. Those are the kind of people I'd like to talk to. And equally important, you know, is my whole life I've sort of been drawn to this is what happened when I was like 11 or 12. We went to Washington, D.C., my family, me and my brother and my mom and dad. And we went to the Washington Monument, and there were these guys there with the leather shoes on, sort of threadbare pants, missing teeth, no socks, dirty ankles. And at the time, they were called bums. And I remember, this was a less protective time, or maybe my parents just weren't, whatever. I remember I was at the water fountain, and the water, the pressure was a little bit too much, and I hit the button and it sprayed me in the face, and one of the dirty ankle guys was there, and he kind of chuckled with his missing teeth and made some comment about it to me, and I was like talking to a fucking rock star, because I thought, even at that young age, it like something clicked in me that I thought, oh, well, that's something that you can be. And then I think my dad grabbed my arm and kind of hustled us all away from the scene there. But ever since, I've been fascinated with homeless people and the mentally ill, just people living on the street, people that I used to say, when I first moved to San Francisco, and I would come to Haight Street, and it was not the hippie paradise that it had maybe someday been. Those days are long gone. There was a lot of drunks on the street and stuff, but there was some sort of I remember thinking, I sort of appreciated the balls it would take, just how much you liked to party, to the point where you would move outside to just pursue that all the time. It was, obviously it was a simplification and a generalization, but on some level I still, because I live on Haight Street or right by it, and I play music down there a lot, and just living in San Francisco in general, there are just so many homeless, mentally ill people, and I've been extremely mentally ill to the point where, I had a home, but I didn't, it wouldn't occur to me to go back to it. I just was going to stay up, and obviously it's far different when you don't have that home to go back to, but I do know what it's like to, quote unquote, lose your mind. And it's not like you don't really lose it completely. You just, different avenues open up and others close down. But anyway, the point is, I think even back then I had a pretty well-formed feeling of worthlessness from being adopted. I just never got over that fact that she didn't want me. No matter how much I have or had come to me in my life, the beautiful parents that adopted me, the great life I still have, there's still that undercurrent of, you're no good, you can't do this, when I'm recording and I listen to my voice and I'm off, not on key, I just have I've always had this feeling like, you'll never be able to do this like other people. And then, that's depression boiled down is just feeling sorry for yourself, no matter where it comes from. It's just chemicals, causing you to not look on the sunny side of life, so to speak. But the flip side, though, we all grew up listening to that My Way cover by Sid Vicious in the song by Frank Sinatra, but that's what we wanted. That's what I wanted. And I don't want to play like Jimmy Page, or like whatever was popular when you were a kid. I mean, of course, secretly I wished I could, but then did I put in the work at that time to play like him? No, or like anybody else. I just had to do my own thing. And this is my own thing. It's called Manic Depressive Before It Was Cool. So without further ado, here's my conversation with James Peterson, drummer for the Electric Hellfire Club, and more. the inaugural session.
I like it.
Inaugural podcast. Haven't named it yet. Yeah,
That's my seat.
that's your seat.
My hot seat.
I'm over here in the yoga area.
How's your downward dog?
I can't do.
No.
My main exercise now is the dead bug, where you lie on your back.
Oh, yeah.
It's a scissor.
Right.
Not that kind of scissor, but.
Right. No, I get it. I got to do it too.
Do you have to walk up hills? Yeah, sure.
Not really. I moved. I told you that, right? We're in Santa Cruz.
But I mean, as an exercise, they assign me that. And the guy goes, I realize it's bad to go downhill.
Right.
He's like, I realize it's hard to go uphill. I'm not going downhill, but trying to find an area. So. Yeah, how is the new place?
Lovely. Love it. It's right downtown, right behind the Catalyst. Like 2 blocks off Pacific Avenue. The fucking Apple shuttle comes gets her every morning. So
that's cool. I know where that area is.
Doesn't have to drive. Doesn't have to commute, so that's cool. I dig it. It's a lot. There's more going on in a smaller space than there was in Sunnyvale. That's turning into suburban hell.
Yeah. Do you still have the old place, though?
Nah, we rented it out.
Right.
She owns it. But
right, yeah, exactly.
yeah, rented out to some teacher.
There's teachers, man.
Just teachers, man.
Yeah, full disclosure, I'm married to a teacher.
Yeah.
I'm talking to the audience.
Right. Oh, okay.
Yeah, have you been playing with anybody?
Yeah, I've been playing with a kid that I knew from high school. He's my age. He's kind of a techie guy. Has a normal day job and shit, but he has all this cadre of songs from back when we were younger, and we're revisiting those and just having fun. I don't think we're gonna play out or anything. They're shy guys.
Shy guys.
Not fucking dyed-in-the-wool players, you know.
Yeah, I kind of think that at this point that would be better, you know.
Just jam.
Well, just play, for fun, and like the people aren't like aiming to, like traditionally it's always been like get a band together and then keep the guys interested.
Right.
Because we got gigs coming up.
Keep working songs and play the gig and get your $100 and
It's something to
go
look forward
home
to.
and- right.
But if you're just looking forward to the jam, that'd be fun too.
yeah, it's been fun. We've got about 13 songs or so. I've just been tracking them and refining them, and I've been working on another dude's record. I didn't play on it, but I tracked it, called Claire on a Dare.
You mean you recorded it?
Yeah, I
On
had
what?
my space, just straight into Logic.
A lapper, yeah.
Used a couple. I got new interfaces. I got the new Personas stuff to go with the new computer.
How many inputs?
8.
That's what I need.
I think it's 18 if you use a digital snake or whatever. You can get the
That's beyond me.
spiff and all that shit. Yeah, it can do a full drum kit, or if you're got a small kit, you can always do a direct
I
to.
figure 4 mics would do that
Yeah.
one in there
Oh, yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, I rarely do more than 5 with a basic drum kit, rock and roll type thing. Do overdubs or something. We overdubbed cymbals to make, because he was a pretty light hitter. He had his drums all muffled up. None of them rang or resonated or anything. It's really straightforward kind of stuff. A lot of keys and strings and pads and all that kind of stuff on it.
A lot of competition for frequencies.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it started getting kind of muddy there for a minute. Female vocal, though, so that kind of...
Oh, that soars above it.
Yeah.
And that's you doing drums and tracking. So let's attempt to go all the way back.
All the way back.
When did you start playing drums?
When I was 8 years old, I got my first drum kit for doing well in school. And I was kind of in the band deal where they give you the choice of the piano or the violin or this little snare drum and all that kind of stuff. So I was doing, it came out of that. I got into the band, and the violin was just awfully squawky. It wasn't for my little fingers. So they moved me over to the snare drum, where I apparently showed some great rhythm, and I did well in school that year. So my mother bought off out of the newspaper 2 matching Beatles like Ringo Starr kits, the little Blue Oyster Pearl things. And they were the same size, so there were two identical kits. And I think that kind of is what, in those early learning years, got me to the open-handed
Why did you buy two kits?
That's what the guy was selling. He was selling both. So she just bought the whole lot and kit and caboodle. It's all kinds of extras. And
had you previously said, buy me a drum kit, and then she said, if you do well in school?
Yeah, I remember having some of those conversations.
I remember I asked my dad for a drum kit one time where my brother was at a swim meet. We're in this little town. And he told me, well, you're going to have to carry it around and maintain it and do all... It sounded so much like work.
Right.
It's like, he would have bought it for me. And I was like,
I was ready for that work.
Nope.
I was ready for that workload, man.
I was like, nope.
Ready to put him in the wagon and take him wherever I had to go. But,
how long... You're 8 years old. How long before you're playing with other people?
About when I was 15, about...
So 7 years.
Yeah, I did. I took a lot of lessons in that time. Did a lot of just experimenting and things like that, and it didn't really come around to playing with others till I started hanging around at a record store that had a bunch of other like young musicians going there to fucking buy records.
And then there was someone at the record store that would be like, "Here, check this out."
Yes.
What was the first thing?
The first thing was Yes's "Close to the Edge."
Yes.
That was because I had gone to, I grew up in the Midwest, so I had gone to Summerfest, which is a big music festival in Milwaukee, and Yes had played. It was the 90125 era of Yes, and I, young head kind of heard that, and I went in looking for some of that, and the guy said, "You want to hear this? You don't want to hear this newfangled 80s Yes. You want to hear this Bill Bruford, right? You want to go for that." So that kind of started it, and right away that went. I should probably put blame on someone for this, but it went from that to Zappa almost overnight. So I was, a kid and listening to, the Zappa kind of mid-period stuff, Shake Your Booty and Tinseltown and all that, the Terry Bozzio shit, which then led back to Missing Persons and, the new wave kind of shit. All the Bozzio related things. I was obsessed with him and Neil Peart. But then I was also... 13 years old at the beginning of thrash metals.
I knew it was going to end up. Somehow that's how I knew it was going to end up.
Thrash metals,
13.
That coming on.
How old are you? You're 45?
46.
So what year was that?
God.
64, 50, 70, 79 maybe?
Yeah. Early 80s, Mid 80s. I was 11 in 84, so 89, late 80s. It's hard when you do a bunch of drugs, you can't put that back in there.
Yeah. Well, when I moved here, it was that thrash, the big crossover, like DRI, and all those thrash bands are playing in East Bay.
Right. I was just thinking about DRI on the drive up here. I was thinking about some of that crossover record. That's kind of big again now, power trip and
that genre or that band.
That genre of music crossing over.
Every niche seems to be thriving,
Still,
still
making a couple $100 a night,
Yeah,
still,
of course.
Drawing people.
We're not going back to the, millions of peaches pay off everybody's mortgage.
Oh, yeah, right.
Era anytime soon, I don't think.
We're gonna write a house today or whatever. The Beatles had. We're gonna write a house or write a car. Or we're gonna write a swimming pool today. Those teenage years led to a bunch of experimentation, and my mother kind of helped with that. She worked at a music store, used, trade, buy, sell, whatever.
Oh, really?
And the drum instructor there was Victor DeLorenzo from the Violent Femmes, and that's who she got me my first few lessons with. And anybody who's into that guy knows he's not really a sit down, let's learn these 2/4s kind of thing. He's let's fill drums with BBs and tune them to pitch, and this really musical approach. He would, what I took away and still remember really vividly from that was the interplay with guitar players and melody, his sense of melody and tuning to pitches. And he had a vocabulary where he really drove home, if this is lyrical music you're sitting behind, you need to let that do its thing. And so with that in mind, you could be way more it was punctuation, like speaking, like exclamation points and periods, and crossing your T's, whatever. Quite literally, he would take the lyrics of the song and he would dot in different colors, like B's and P's or T's and S's and things like that. And you would add combinations of drums or sounds to that. So there was some high SE thing in the lyrical line, you would put a lot more symbol on that, or really attack a china and a snare drum with T's, or just kind of trying to make it a.
He didn't have much to work with. Like, they came out of busking on the street, didn't they?
Yeah,
he probably didn't have much.
He was a stand-up drummer. Right, he played snare drum, and that did also translate into later when I joined a band that was electronic. I stood up and played drums. I took all that straight from him. I was trying to find these other industrial drummers that stood up and played, not just the marionette industrial thing. I wanted someone actually playing in real time.
Yeah.
Playing over the bar line of that constant walking quarter notes. So I just started thinking of how he would do that, and there was a lot of brushes on snare drums with him, and really trying to make the movement with that choo-choo train kind of thing, and that's what I pulled away from him. And I guess right about that time I started playing with other people, and we had a little high school band, just playing little shitty
really
songs.
Lucky to get you.
We were all about the same age. I think I was a little more advanced than those.
Yeah, you started at 8. Most people are starting at like 12, 14, and they're still, but a good drummer makes all the difference.
Yeah. I was already playing with people much older than me. Shortly after that, I moved to California, about 15, 16.
Let's go back. You're from Wisconsin. I know we share that. And probably spent a lot of similar time in the summers. And what you're from? What town?
Kenosha, Wisconsin.
And how far is that from Milwaukee?
About 40 miles south of Milwaukee and 40 miles north of Chicago.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You're right in the middle.
And what about? Do you know where Alpine Valley is?
Yeah, it's East Troy, Wisconsin.
East Troy, yeah.
About half an hour west.
Spent a lot of time up there.
Grateful Dead.
A lot of Dead shows.
Yes.
But a lot of visits to my grandma's too in Wisconsin. But then you guys moved to California when you were 15?
Yeah,
you and your mom?
She married a dude in the military who was at Great Lakes Naval Base there near Waukegan, Zion, Illinois. And that didn't work out well for me. I was here for maybe a year. It just didn't work. We were in the Central Valley near Fresno, so it was not.
Yeah.
I was going from it's kind of a faster moving metropolitan kind of thing with all my friends and our little street thing and all that kind of shit, and which was pretty rough.
What's your little street thing?
A little street thing. So I got the 54th Street crew,
in Wisconsin.
The damn gang of cheeseheads.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, it was rough, man. It was iron worker city. They had a lot of auto manufacturing there that dried up and went away. When I was a boy, and that kind of toughened up the neighborhood. All those old men didn't have jobs anymore, so they just kind of sat around and drank and
and a lot of those neighborhoods that happened to where my grandma lived. After as we were getting older, the neighborhood was kind of becoming more and more. I don't know if it was working class or if I want to say seedy or whatever, but it was definitely getting tougher.
Sure.
To the point where one year we went up there and I kind of got lost on my bike, and there was just these tough kids on either side of the street, and they were going to kick my ass.
Right.
Bike, boy. And it had previously grown, it had been like just very sunny, gardeny kind of mellow neighborhood.
Yeah, very much the same.
But so you're in Simi Valley with your mom and the...
Oh, that's the San Joaquin Valley.
San Joaquin Valley.
Central Valley.
Oh, Central Valley.
Not even half as cool as the Simi Valley. South of Fresno, in between Bakersfield
so you
and Fresno.
away from there, though?
Well, I ended up getting an offer from the cats back in Wisconsin because the Thrill Kill cult had splintered off or whatever, and that he was looking for a young drummer, and they didn't quite know how young. I was 16 going on 17, so I dropped out of high school and
went back there.
How
did you get back there?
My mom. She was at that point. My mom knew that that was what I was going to do. Try to be a.
Romantically picturing you like hopping on a fucking Greyhound.
Oh yeah, that's how it went down. Yeah.
But so that was Electric Hellfire Club?
That was the Electric Hellfire Club.
And that's who's that from Thrill Kill?
That is Thomas Thorne. There, it's hard to kind of bring up the Thrill Kill thing, but it was 3 of them basically in the beginning. I didn't quite see the early stuff, but then I started, getting around those guys, and there was 3 of them. He was a keyboard sample kind of guy. He didn't write a lot of this stuff, but certainly influenced them with the thematics. The couple of punk bands and experimental bands he was in before that were Madison based. He's from Madison, Wisconsin. Had a super industrial Einstürzen Bauten kind of feel to his stuff prior to that.
Always come up.
And Satan, he's a big Church of Satan guy. It's all about the devil with him. So he started the early Thrill Kill stuff is really has a lot of that in the thematics, the old Satan thing and death disco and all that shit. And they were going more in a really more of a flamboyant disco direction. He wanted to be a Judas Priest, so
Judas Priest without the gay.
Right, but still, it has that industrial flavor of the time.
Thrill Kill Cult's from Madison?
They're from Chicago.
Okay,
just parts around there, what have you.
The Midwest, man.
Yeah. I think that band was a baby of the whole Wax Trax thing. They all worked there together. Thomas,
that was
Marsden,
where we would go. Buy records if we, they didn't have it in Indianapolis, we'd go to Chicago.
Right, that's right.
Huge town. So you went back there, you're 16, and were they signed to a label?
About a year after that. About a year and a half after that. We did a couple of demos. That's where I first started touring. It's where I first started smoking a lot of rock.
And, a lot of crack came in there.
Jesus Christ. And that's kind of where it just started. I started doing it. I saw it coming together, and that was it was a pretty DIY thing. We didn't have an agent at first. He was just picking up the same shows he was playing with the Thrill Kill called previously.
Yeah, I got this new band.
So it just kept circling and tailing off that till eventually he got an agent, got a record deal with Cleopatra Records, and then I started coming and going after that point. Then it becomes I'd show up like pretty much at every tour cycle or every fucking record cycle. It just starts going like that. In and out of rehab and jail and all that kind of shit.
What's the first thing you went to jail for?
It's, being under the influence, possession of drugs. Yeah. They arrested us, the band, at somewhere outside of Minneapolis. We had 6 shows left to go or something. I fucking had some rock and weed in my waistband and shit. And my fanny bag. And we were out at some fucking truck stop out in the middle of wherever, and everyone was just fucked up, man. We were all just wasted and crazy, and the people there called the police. So we get about a mile down the road and pull us out, and that was my first.
They arrested everybody?
My first. Well, no, they arrested me because I had the drugs.
They searched everybody? They
searched it, the whole vehicle, take everything out, and we missed that show. Got to do the rest of them, but we missed the show that night. That was the first time I got arrested.
Were they pissed that you had drugs and they didn't know and you hadn't shared, or just that you got everybody busted?
No, that I couldn't make the show. Yeah, they were kind of pissed about that, but everyone had kind of had their own drugs, so we didn't really. That came much later, where everyone was fighting over who's hiding what. Where's the box, man? That kind of shit.
I remember we were, like the Hayride was a hippie jam band, ostensibly, even though no one really was a hippie except maybe the keyboard player. And I go to Colorado, I meet those guys, and first thing I get to the house, and I'm like, "Hey, Bracken, man, you got any weed?" And he's like, "No." And so I find some other weed, and then I see him pull out a bag of weed later, a couple hours later. And I was like, I was so pissed.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
I called him on it, and he's like, "Oh, I thought you meant, did I have any right then?" Like you're guessing it was somewhere else in his bag or whatever.
Yeah, that shit'll.
But it was just like I felt like at that point I was kind of done with the band anyway.
That shit'll tear a band apart right there.
That kind of a weird way sealed it for me. Like if our most hippie member is gonna not lie, but maybe just not share.
Right, abscond and
because
hide and
a friend with weed.
It's true.
Anyway, so you in and out. How long did that band last?
Over the course of 7 full lengths and a couple of EPs, shit ton of compilations, a lot of cover music work. But it was about 12, 13 years, and then all of us started going to prison. It was weird.
Wait a sec. Okay.
But a couple of us went to prison, one died, and then we just kind of gave up, like, if we continue down this road, all of us are either going to die or
Okay.
something. That band was particularly upfront with
died?
our keyboard player, Shane, the Reverend Dr. Love, who was, if you look at the pairing of the Hellfire Club, there's 2 older guys and 2 younger guys, and me and Shane were the younger 2 that went to school together, grew up in the same neighborhood, and were really tight, and he was, we just could, we were both crackhead fucking heroin shooters, and he was driving home one night, just fucking fucked up, probably banging dope in the car, and fucking swerved in the back of a semi, and apparently died pretty quickly, but we had to take a step back at that point and
then
kind of see what's happening, I didn't learn my lesson, though. I kept doing drugs and ended up going to prison for a while.
Yeah, I don't know how much you want to talk about that, but
we could go on for a long time about that.
what about the other 2 guys? They both went to prison too?
Yeah, one went for using post office boxes of ours to mail narcotics back and forth between people.
Nice.
And that was going to get the other guy involved as well, but he kind of pled out and put it on the other one. So that's what initially really broke the band up, which is kind of in its way a larger version of like not telling you to do that.
The one guy was guilty, but he got ratted out by
the dude was guilty, but he got everything put on him.
And then what about the other guy? What did he go to prison for?
Kind of a more violence things. It was a series of domestic problems one after the next.
The
everyone now is clean and sober. That was involved.
The other 2 guys.
Correct.
No, so one guy died, and 3 guys are sober.
Yeah. We don't talk anymore though. Nah. We did a 25th anniversary thing in Tampa. I guess that was 2 years ago now, 3 years ago, and it just didn't. For me, the show itself just wasn't strong enough. I didn't think there was enough time and preparation put into really pulling off what that should have been. And
was that when you were playing more to like backing tracks and stuff?
Yeah, I was kind of sitting down playing.
Was there still an audience out there?
Oh yeah, that show did really well. Once again with that whole nostalgia thing.
Yeah.
That industrial, creepy, spooky thing or whatever you want to call it's gonna come back around, and especially with the satanic stuff. It's true. There's
never gets old. That Satan.
The devil thing never gets old.
What was I gonna say? So when's the last time you talked to those 2 guys? That gig?
Well, I talked to one of them. I talk to one of them all the time. It's the other one that we just don't talk. After that thing, I was like, it's.
Is it like a personal or just?
Yeah, it's personal. There really isn't any business to speak of. We could do a reissue of the early records or something, but I don't think there's no new writing or.
You could go on Industrial Palooza 2025.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah, we
People
could.
Paying more and more for tickets these days.
Yeah, tell me about it. I went to a show at August Hall a couple weeks back, and that was a $15 per ticket service charge.
Yeah, per ticket. Who
Per
was the band?
ticket. I saw Ceremony. It was.
Oh, that's right, Ceremony. I
$35.
I loved that album that you sent me, but I haven't listened to it. I
it's
loved
good.
it on Spotify or whatever.
Right.
I liked it.
It's a good record. It's not bad.
And then but you have emerged from all that turmoil into, ostensibly a much happier time.
Yes.
But is it like, do you miss, is there still that fire, like you want to get in a band and rock and do that?
Oh yeah, I think that'll always be there. I'll take that to the end with me. I always have that.
You want to play live?
Yeah, I want to play live.
Yeah.
I'm a live drummer. I really, that's all I kind of want to do with my life, period. All the other work and most of the other jobs and stuff I've done in my life kind of come out of it. You know, the whole venue work thing and the, you know, ticket agency thing and the booking thing and this and that and everything else kind of just pushes back to I want to just play drums on the road.
Does it matter if you play huge shows or small shows, or like, are you
I like them all.
sort of money out of it? You just want to play?
Yeah, I don't mind getting dinner. I do like being able to pay some rent on occasion.
It's nice. Yeah.
But that's also hard to do these days.
I mean,
It's not easy.
you have to be willing to sacrifice in
Yeah.
terms of like, be gone all the time.
Yes, for very little. It's not like you're not gonna
I mean,
pull a $200-$400 guarantee out of a 80-seater in Kentucky somewhere. It's just not gonna happen no more. You know, doesn't work like that. You got to go eat shit for a while. And
my friend played guitar for Puddle of Mud for a couple of years.
No, really?
Just toured, yeah.
I played a couple shows with that band. Not in the band, but
Oh my god! And after that experience, he just doesn't play music now. He didn't play music for a really long time, and he became really successful in Hollywood, like working on commercials and videos and production design, and
right.
you know, it's like once he figured out, well, it's not the lifestyle I want. I'm gonna.
Right. Yeah, I see that quite a bit. I mean, you know, at the venue down there, you see a lot of these smaller bands come through time and time and time and time again, and I don't know what it is. You know, some of them kind of get, you know,
Do they
better
get
at what they
anywhere?
do, and then the other ones just don't. You know, they just don't. Just doesn't click. You know, I don't. And I really don't. You know, I've been working on that for a long time too. I don't have there's no built-in thing like, you know, this show's gonna do well, this one's not, and it just keeps going. Just keep trying to do it, and been concentrating more on the non-musical events down there, like wrestling and art shows and
What about
skating
comedy?
video. We do a little bit of comedy. It's generally got to be pretty left of center. There's an improv 3 doors down, so it's if it's a more popular mainstream comedian, they generally go down there. If it's someone dark talking about death and drugs, they generally they're at our spot.
Yeah, well, yeah, like from the time that we were playing together, then like so many different things happened in between. Of like, one was my neighbor's kids got
Right.
old enough where we just couldn't play past 8. Most people are not going to be able to practice at noon
Right.
in San Francisco. So after 8, so anyway, and then I started playing on the street, and I discovered like it gets my whole desire to perform right out. It's just like I get out there playing, I sing my heart out, and it feels like I just played at Shoreline or
Right.
something, and then I can go to the grocery store and come home. So yeah, you can't really do that with drums.
Yeah, I don't think people would want to hear a bunch of drum solos. All
You
day.
can set up like that.
It's a little
there's
pocket
dudes
all
down
day.
on Market Street that have the little
Oh yeah,
drum
right.
shows
The
they
buckets
do.
and all that.
They probably make more money than the touring
Probably,
bands.
yeah, probably do. Yeah, most national acts ain't making all that. Less than $3,000, you know, is what. That's how I look at it when I'm booking a national. Can I get them for less than $3,000?
I mean, as a young kid from Topeka, it's got to look like really fun.
Yeah.
It looks like really fun to tour to any kid.
Sure.
But after you reach a certain age, you realize like nowadays you have to just tour year round.
Yeah.
That just has to be.
Yes, you do.
No relationships, nothing.
Yeah, it's continual. Whatever market you didn't play, you're going there next, or trying to get here, trying to get there, and it is a lot of work nowadays. If you want to do that for a living, you got to be out all the time.
How did you? So we got to wind up here, but between the end of the band and prison, and then me meeting you through Judah, how did you end up like in the South Bay?
When I finally stopped doing the prison thing and just really thought if I don't do X, Y, Z, I'm gonna never play again or never
Right.
do any of this or die or worse.
Doing the prison thing? You mean doing drugs?
Yeah, just in and out over and over again.
Right.
Just get out, use your money to get high, go straight back.
More than once, huh?
the internet started to come around, and social media specifically. And my wife currently, that last time out of prison, we had lost contact for quite a while, but she dates back to the Hellfire days, coming and going, and so on and so forth. She had moved to Seattle, and she's never been she's not straight edger, but she's never been a fucking fiend like me, and just basically laid it out like, you can do this and you can do this. It'll be a damn shame if you're not around anymore to kind of do what you do. I will help you. I will do this. So I fucking took it seriously and moved to Seattle. Was there for almost a decade, and then did a lot of stuff up there. And then
a lot of stuff. You mean played bands and stuff?
Played in a lot of bands.
So you were sober?
That ticket agency. I was sober the entire time. Clean sober the entire time.
10 years in Seattle with no dope.
Yeah. Or how about that?
Who else
I fucking, you know what I mean? Like, I just was not into it. I was at that point here where I just didn't, all I saw was drugs, man. I just wanted to go somewhere else and get back into what I really wanted to do. And then her grandfather fell ill and ultimately had passed, but that's why we came back to the South Bay, is she was taking care of her family. And her, what she does for a living, make a lot more money down here than you do working remotely for someone.
Working for Apple.
Contract. Yeah, that she works at Apple.com.
What she does for a living.
Yeah.
She works at Apple.
that makes making music pretty easy sometimes. But that's what brought me back down here. And then I just answered. I was looking for gigs, man. I played with an American Idol finalist for a little while, and that was getting on my fucking nerves.
You don't say.
No, I don't say. His agent was fucking terrible. And I just started looking around at Craigslist, and this one came up because they were name checking some drummers that you wouldn't really, like, you got to know your drummers.
Right.
You're looking for something really specific.
Like who did they?
Yeah, they were naming Jim Keltner, that, and Hal Blaine, those really recorded session guys from Wrecking Crew and all that, which it isn't even close to my style, but I just thought that someone being so specific, I'm pretty specific myself, and I answered that, and it was Judah, Clementine, and Justin, and that's kind of what got me into the San Francisco circle of things, I guess. I don't really get around too much and get my face and stuff, but one person hears me, it goes to the next.
I have a friend that lives in the Santa Cruz Mountains, and he's always looking for a big drummer. They have a big band, like 9, 12 people. I don't know what all they have.
Big fucking jug band.
It's not a jug band. No, they play rock and roll.
Right.
But I've been meaning to ask you if you want to.
Yeah, hook me up.
But what's about do you guys where the Big Moody Curve is?
Yeah, yes. I've heard. I haven't been to it, but I know
It's like a section of highway, right?
it's Highway 9 or whatever.
That's the name of their band. Is the Big Moody
All right.
Curve. Well, did you already go to Amoeba or anything?
No.
You want to go walk around and hate a little bit?
Sure.
This is really fun, man. I could do this all the time. Just wrap around in the garage.
Oh, yeah.
Eric James Peterson, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you. Hope you got something out of there. I'm going to be rambling about drugs in prison.
You can't censor it. It's like we recorded it.
No, man. No, you can't edit something like that. Like, oh no, let's take that again. That's not.